Good afternoon, dear students. Lecture number 5 and the topic of the lecture: medical ecology, factors of environmentally dependent diseases in humans. The lecture plan. At first, human needs as of biosocial being, classification, characteristics of human ecology, definition. Secondly, environmental medicine, object of study, tasks. And the next one, common patterns of environmental factors acting on humans. The law of optimum, the law of minimum, unity of organisms and environment. The next one, anthropo-ecological, tension, fatigue, causes and forms. The next point of the lecture, health as an indicator of the quality of the anthropo-ecological environment. In conclusion, signs of negative effects of adverse environmental factors, characteristics of negative trends. We often hear the words quality of life. They mean well-being of society and one person in condition of anthropo-ecological environment. Well-being is independence on satisfaction of human needs. There are biological, social, and personal human needs. Biological needs. Environmental factors that ensure the ability of the body to be healthy. For example, balanced nutrition, air, water, clothing, shelter, no threat to life. For example, certain climatic condition, full sleep and rest, protection of diseases and pollution, and etc. Social needs. Opportunity to work, earn money, access to comfort, health care, and personal needs. Behavioral norms, ethical foundations of social psychological characteristics. It is very difficult to separate needs one group from another. They are interconnected. But often the ability of satisfaction of human social and personal needs is independent on environmental conditions. This is a subject of human ecology. According to the definition of academician Kazanachev, human ecology in the modern sense is a comprehensive systematic science that studies the patterns of interaction between people and environment, population issues, preservation and development of health, improvement of the physical and mental capabilities of the population. Nowadays, due to increase of environmentally dependent human diseases, is the new direction of medicine, environmental medicine. The object of this sphere is environmentally conditioned and environmentally dependent human diseases. Tasks of environmental medicine are diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of environmental diseases, including biogeochemical pathology. For example, endemic diseases. There are the following common patterns of action of environmental factors on humans. The law of optimum. The stronger is the deviation from the optimum, the more expressed in the oppressive effect of this factor on the body. Every factor has certain limits of positive influence on organism. The impact of the modified factor depends primarily on the strength of its manifestation. Both insufficient and excessive action of the factor negatively affects the body functions. The demonstration of this law you can see on the screen. There is the optimum zone, in which are conditions for normal living, and there is the zone of impression of living functions, and the maximum of minimum intensity of action of factor, the death is possible. So, each factor has own limits of its positive action or positive influence on organism. For example, the lower the concentration of fluoride in the water, the higher the incidence of carriers in the population. High concentrations of fluoride in drinking water also led to the development of pathology, fluorosis. This is the appearance of brown or dark spots on the surface of the toothed animal. The gradual destruction of teeth. The second law is the law of the minimum by Liebig. The endurance of the body is determined by the weak link in the chain of its environmental needs. All the conditions of the environment necessary to maintain life have an equal role. The law of equality of all living conditions, it calls. Any factor can limit the possibility of the existence of the body. The third law is the law of unity of the environment organisms. It's suggested by Russian academician Vernadsky. Life develops as a result of constant metabolism of matter and information based on the flow of energy in the cumulative unity of the environment and its inhabiting organisms. The form of existence of the organism always corresponds to the conditions of its life. The habitat is changing rapidly and dramatically, and humans as a biological being cannot adapt quickly to it. That is why the destruction of biocenosis is possible, and there is a possibility of disease development in the human population. This situation can lead to anthropo-ecological tension. So we go to the next point of the lecture. Anthropo-ecological tension and fatigue. Anthropo-ecological tension is the stress of all systems of the body aimed at restoring the disorders of homeostasis caused by factors of the environment altered by humans. Anthropo-ecological fatigue is the uncompensated tension. You see a photo of academician Казначеев, which suggests the term anthropo-ecological tension and fatigue. The disruption of adaptation mechanisms occurs, and the state which can turn to disease forms. It's so-called third or intermediate state between health and disease. This condition, in unfavorable environmental conditions, can become widespread, covering human populations and affecting the health of subsequent generations of people. There are many forms of anthropo-ecological tension and fatigue. Genetic tension and fatigue. Social psychological stress and fatigue. Infectious immunological tension and fatigue. The next one is chemical and medical fatigue. And the last one, migration tension and fatigue. Let's talk about these different forms. So the first form is genetic tension and fatigue. Manifests on human population level, affects the gene pool. A disproportionate increase in genetic polymorphism, an increase in genetic load, and ultimately a violation of genetic homeostasis occurs. This is due to the increased gene flow, due to the high degree of migration of the Earth's population, the high intensity of the mutation process. So, an increase of number of malformations and abnormalities, miscarriages, diseases with inheritance predisposition, and newborn pathology occur. Genetic tension on population level also indicates as damage of reproductive organs. For example, birth of premature babies, violation of the course of pregnancy. As a result, there is a high level of indicates of child morbidity and mortality. The second type of anthropoecological tension and fatigue is social psychological stress and fatigue. It manifests in people relationship sphere, forms of the background of a high rhythm of life, the intensity of the work, and etc. This type of tension and fatigue is expressed in the constant involvement of nervous structures in the adaptation process, in the overstrain of the nervous system. As a result, it can be the base of neurosis, various psychosomatic diseases. Infectious immunological tension and fatigue due to exposure of influence of many numbers of xenobiotics on human organism, which led to change in immune body reactivity. Chemical and medical fatigue due to the uncontrolled use of drugs, which leads to allergization, decreased immunity, side effects. And the last one of anthropoecological tension and fatigue is migration tension and fatigue. The movement of people over long distances in short periods of time leads to disruption of biorhythms, which can lead to the development of chronic diseases. The next point of the lecture is health as an indicator of the quality of the anthropoecological environment. In human ecology, the term health indicates a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. The forming of some diseases directly connects with action of adverse environmental factors. The effect of adverse environmental factors can be acute, chronic, and late. The acute effect is an increase in the mortality rate, the calls for emergency care. Chronic effect, an increase in the morbidity in the population. And late effect, increase in incidence of cancer and frequency of congenital development abnormalities in the population. The main signs of negative impact of adverse environmental factors in human population are population allergy, increased cancer morbidity and mortality, Lagging of physiological age from the calendar, the birth of large number of premature babies, the birth of children with abnormalities of the development. Rejuvenation of many forms of pathology. Increase in the proportion of persons with cardiovascular pathology, respiratory, digestive, urinary systems disorders. And the last one, strengthening of our biological trends. So let's speak about these processes in more detail. Population allergy. Allergy is a perverted sensitivity or reactivity of the body to a particular substance, the so-called allergen. Allergens can be exoallergens, infectious, microbes, viruses, for example, and non-infectious, wool, dust, pollen, medicine, and other chemical substances, for example, xenobiotics, also meat, vegetables and fruits, berries, milks, and etc. And there are autoallergens. Tissues of damaged organs in burn, radiation exposure, frostbite, autoimmune diseases, and etc. Cause of allergic diseases is disruption in the immune system. It can be cause of diseases, for example, bronchial asthma, food and drug allergies, rheumatism, skin diseases, and others. The next indicator of negative impact of diverse environmental factors is cancer morbidity and mortality. Cancer can be caused by carcinogens, chemical compounds that can cause malignant and benign tumors. According to the nature of the action, carcinogens are divided into three groups. Topical effect. Organotopic, affecting certain organs, and multiple action, causing tumors in different organs. Carcinogens include many cyclic hydrocarbons, nitrogen dyes, and alkylating compounds. They are contained in the air polluted by industrial emissions, in tobacco smoke, coal tar, and soot. Many carcinogenous substances have a mutagenic effect on the body. Also, ultraviolet, X-ray, and radioactive radiation have a carcinogenic effect. The next sign of environmental situation in certain territory is birth of a large number of premature babies. Significant pollution of the atmosphere, soil, water, as well as harmful factors of industrial production led to disruption of the normal course of pregnancy. Children born to women living in the industrial zone have significant metabolic disorders at the molecular, subcellular, and cellular levels. Due to the lack of xenobiotics detoxification system in the fetus, any amounts of xenobiotics that have overcome the placental barrier can manifest their negative action. There are embryotoxic and teratogenic effects. For pregnant women, the concept of maximum permissible concentrations of any substance is not suitable. The impact of adverse environment factors causes a violation of the functions of the placenta, leading to the inability of this organ to maintain an adequate exchange between the mother and fetus. It has been shown that a number of chemicals that are highly soluble in lipids, such as gasoline, accumulate in the placenta. It is also known about the disposition of mercury in it, which easily combines with proteins. When exposed to adverse factors during implantation, early embryogenesis and placentation, primary placental insufficiency may develop, which is manifested by anatomical disorders of its structure, location, and attachment. All this is manifested by symptoms of threatened termination of pregnancy or spontaneous miscarriage in the early stage of pregnancy. As a result of a violation of the function of the placenta, the fetus suffers, first of all, from a lack of nutrients, hormones, and vitamins necessary for growth and development. The next indicator of healthy state of population is rejuvenation of some diseases. Currently, the age for inclusion in risk groups for the development of certain diseases has been significantly reduced. Many diseases previously found only in the adult population are common among adolescents. For example, hypertensive disease, diabetes, other endocrine pathology. There is a connection of this point with next indicator of population health. If a population is in conditions of negative environmental factors, increase in the proportion of persons with cardiovascular pathology, respiratory, digestive, urinary systems disorders occurs. There are following causes to forming this situation: stressful situation, distress, exactly, overweight, unbalanced diet, low physical activity, bad habits, for example, smoking, drinking alcohol, and etc. In more details, you will study these diseases in their causes during your learning in our university. Among the adverse environmental factors are also strengthening our biological trends. Currently, our biological trends are increasing. There are trends that are not characteristics of the biological essence of a person, leading to a deterioration in health and a decrease in life expectancy. They include technological equalization of all spheres of life. For example, creating biorobots that replace humans, artificial intelligence, and others, the consequences of which can be unpredictable. Smoking, alcoholism, addiction, and hypodynamia. These causes have negatively influence on person health and all population health. Thus, in modern conditions, humanity can no longer develop further without an ecological orientation. It becomes obvious that a person's health will be determined by many factors. It cannot be separated from the conditions or the possibilities of human activity, the specific environment in which people live. Thank you for your attention.